one of the major topics of conversation at the summit is cyber protection for critical infrastructure. The first step in that discussion is defining the term. I asked Alex Whitworth, Director of Sales at Carahsoft, who does what in defending critical infrastructure here and around the world.
Super critical for our nation as a whole to protect critical infrastructure. You know, the Department of Defense has a massive role in protecting critical infrastructure. And a few things that DoD is doing and should be doing focused on critical infrastructure protection. One, there is a wealth of available technologies that are emerging into the market that have the capabilities, diverse capabilities for protecting critical infrastructure systems. So investing in those and finding the right mix of technology solutions to solve those problems, right? The vulnerabilities in industrial control systems and SCADA systems is one area. Another area that we see a lot of focus across the Department of Defense is in supply chain, right? So shoring up the security of the supply chain. You know, CMMC is a major effort of the DoD. That's going to go a long way to raising the cyber protections within the defense industrial base as a whole, which will be, you know, a major feature of that critical infrastructure focus.
Those technologies that you talked about that are coming into this space, are they unique or kind of aimed at directly the critical infrastructure space, or are those new technologies that are coming onto the market in general but have particularly useful applications in the critical infrastructure space?
Great question. I think a mixture of both, but specifically the former. So tools that are purpose-built to protect industrial control systems and critical infrastructure as their entire business model or focus. So that the amount of investment from industry into that space to solve those really, really hard problems is increasing and will continue to do so.
One of the things that is striking to me about the critical infrastructure challenge is that some of the government speakers I've talked to here are talking about how the threat is different. There's not necessarily a desire by threat actors to exfiltrate information or to shut something down. They just want to have access to systems and just kind of sit there. How does that inform the way that people should think about the tools that they're using or the strategies that they deploy to try to defend?
Yeah, great point. And if you think about the logical end of that, where, okay, now they want to just sit there, but if they did decide to change something or execute some sort of malicious commands in our water systems, in our electrical grid, you know, pick a critical infrastructure sector, the kinetic result of that could be so devastating. So the focus on identifying those vulnerabilities and identifying where the intrusions have already happened and getting them out of the system is extremely important.
How do you expect to see this evolve over time? Is there a way to even anticipate what the bad guys might try to do and thus the way that we try to defend against them?
Yeah, good question. I think, you know, one evolution that probably needs to happen is some standardization, right? There's the diversity of different types of proprietary technologies, ports and protocols that these technology vendors have to write to be able to protect vulnerabilities within those systems is extremely diverse. So creating a unified standard so that every critical infrastructure manufacturer can work within the same sort of boundaries will help the security industry better protect those systems.
How would you like to see the security industry, though, work on that issue without making things so standardized that the bad guys can also figure out what the standards are?
That's a really great question. You know, I think the collaboration among industry partners through things like the OT Cyber Coalition help advance those topics. So the more thoughtful collaboration between industry and government, I think the better solutions we'll find to those issues.
What should government organizations do to figure out if they're doing it right? Is other than we haven't gotten attacked and we can't find anybody on our networks, or maybe those are just the most desirable goals. What are the end outcomes that people should be going for?
Good question. You know, maybe one way to think about an answer to that would be extending the compliance programs that exist to the operational technology or critical infrastructure side of our government networks. So not just focusing on the security posture of IT, but also focusing on the security posture of those OT connected devices.
Alex Whitworth of Carahsoft.